So today I'm making ham and cheese puff pancake. If you've ever heard of something called a Dutch baby pancake, this is very similar. This is a savory one. A lot of times the Dutch babies are like more of a sweet pancake, but this is savory and it's got ham and cheese in it. You can sub those out for different types of cheeses or different types of meats, but I'm going with ham and cheese today, and I am getting started by preheating my oven to 425. And while that's preheating, I'm going to put my half stick of butter in my pan and go ahead and get that in the oven. You want your butter to get good and brown, and you want your pan to be really good and hot when you pour the mixture into it. So then I'm going to get started mixing my ingredients up. I'm going to be using 5 eggs today. The recipe calls for 4 large. Some of these are a little bit small, so I'm going to go ahead and put 5 in there, and then we will mix up our other ingredients. You want your eggs at room temp and your milk at room temp. That's really going to make this recipe work properly. If you don't, it just doesn't work out as well. So try to make sure those ingredients are at room temperature. So once you get all your eggs cracked, you're just going to add in 1 cup of milk, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of flour. And that's going to be your base mixture for this. And you just want to whisk it up really, really well. Or if you want to throw it in the blender and blend that up, you can do that also. So there is definitely a bit of a time strategy that goes into this because you don't want your butter to get too brown and you want your pan to be hot. So you want to have everything out ahead of time and ready. And while that butter is in the oven, you want to get everything cut up, grated, mixed up, so that as soon as that comes out of the oven, the butter is all brown, you can just put everything on it and stick it back into the oven. I like to use blocks of cheese. I always grate my own cheese fresh. It just tastes so much better than the already shredded cheese. We just like it so much better. You can see I'm using a sharp cheddar cheese. And then this is just some ham lunch meat that I have. It's about 3 pieces. And I'm just going to kind of cut that into little cubes. And today the herb I'm using is dried thyme. So you can use any fresh or dried herbs you want to, but you can see that this butter has gotten nice and browned and my oven's gotten preheated. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this egg mixture in there, and it'll start cooking right away because your pan's going to be nice and warm. And then you just want to sprinkle whatever meat you're using over it and whatever cheese. Now, we like to use sometimes salami or pepperoni. Any of those meats have worked well. I'm sure you could use a sausage. And then, like I said, I'm going to be using thyme as my herb today, and I'm going to get that back in the oven as soon as I can, and it's going to cook in there for about 20 minutes. You want to try to be really careful not to open the oven and look at it, because when that steam escapes, it kind of messes it up. Now this is going to go up the sides of your pan and puff up really big, and then once it sits, it'll kind of shrink down a good bit, but that's why it's called puff pancake, because it just kind of puffs up on the sides. So you can see that here, it's cooked for 20 minutes, and you can see how it's come up those sides, and it's just golden brown all the way around. It looks really good, and so I'm going to let that cool for a bit, and then it'll be ready to eat. So I've got some nice peaches here. I was at a friend's house last week, and she had several extra peaches off her peach tree, and she gave them to me, and these have been so good. So I'm just going to peel them and get them ready to have with this puff pancake. So my kids all really like this recipe, and what I'll usually do is just cut it into fourths, and everybody gets a fourth of it. If we're doing it on the weekends when my husband's home, I usually make 2 of them, and we go through it pretty quickly. But here it is all plated up and ready to go. So now I'm just going to take some of these peach scraps out to the animals. They love any types of scraps. They just come running whenever I take them out there. So they're going to get to enjoy some peaches for breakfast as well.